We are live. It is 6 p.m. Hear ye, hear ye. Welcome back to another installment of the Sandy Arts Commission. Thank you all for joining us. It looks like we have a few members missing. I looked at the email. I did not see anyone necessarily saying that they weren't going to be, well, other than her, but Lou did not mention
That's a question.
that. So, okay. Not a problem. It is what it is. We are here and accounted for, so we can do this. Let's go ahead and start the meeting off with honoring our nation's flag with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call. Any changes to the agenda as written or presented to us thus far? Hearing none, I'll proceed to move on to, we have a few members of the public tonight. It's a packed house in here, if you're watching at home. Do you have anything for us tonight, Carl? If you'd like to go ahead and take advantage of this time slot before everyone rushes to the podium.
Yeah, I'll take a number.
Yeah, right.
Okay, I'll make it really quick and short. Just some ideas to think about. Number one is our sewer plant facilities plan is designed to be done this September, end of September, early October, and so on. And that includes a building, probably maybe more than one building. And I believe, since it's probably going to be associated with some sort of a park, that there ought to be some art attached to it. So might want to keep that in mind as we push our way towards that. And that, like I said, is supposed to be given to the city council in September, October timeframe in there. So something to be thinking about, a new building. And
Okay.
Any new building we built, I think you remember there's a 1% requirement that has to be some art attached to it. Great place for a mural, maybe some other things. And the other thing that I wanted to kind of let you know is that I'm on a economic development committee right now, and we are putting together a number of people in the community that are connected and want to do something with the city. And I think that art is one of those things that we would love to see as an economic development. And I'm looking for ideas about what kind of things we can do that draws in economic development into the city. And in this particular format, any kind of art projects that might bring something, and looking for ways to draw people to stop, spend money, and do things here in the city. So as we go along, and that process has no deadline. It's just one of those things we're going to work our way through, and as we find low-hanging fruit, things that really make a lot of sense, pretty easy to put together, we're going to do those things. And so that's something in this format. Art projects would really be one of those kind of great things to move forward, use it as a vehicle. And that's all I really have.
All right, great, thank you. That being said, art is, it's always a nice reflection of, how a city is growing or the vibrancy of a town, and it's time for something new, I think. Not necessarily innovative, but, just spruce up the town a bit and give people something to look at and dialogue about, perhaps. So, does anyone have any comments or anything they'd like to add to that for Carl? So we'll try not to have any lowbrow or potty humor art for the sewage plant.
Yeah, let's not do that.
That's me for you. I'm just going to put that out there. Anyway, moving on, skipping over public comment because everyone just left. I guess they couldn't follow Carl's act there. So let's move to old business. Please, Becky, could you address the Roger Cooke Peaceful Vistas mural update for us?
Yes, I would say that we're pretty far along on that project, and we're hoping to be done by the end of this week, but probably into the first of next week. We should have it finished. And then we need to have some funds raised for the preservation of it, the clear coat and possibly graffiti coat that we'll talk about in new business. But as far as the mural itself, we have had people honking and saying, "Looking good, ladies."
Yeah, they're very, very appreciative.
Yeah. And stopping in, walkers coming by, and people sending emails to me and
Good.
saying that they thought it was looking pretty bad and they're happy to see the refreshed look. And it's been a challenge. It was so degraded that it's been a real challenge to
Yeah.
bring the same detail back into it. So we're trying to stay with the original details as much as possible. So I'm looking forward to being able to talk about the art preservation. I
You
think
did a
it's
wonderful job.
it's really been a well accepted, and people come by and say,
Yes.
I knew Roger, he was a wonderful guy, and they're so happy to see that it's being restored.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for your hard work.
Mm.
I did not have the pleasure of knowing Mr. Cooke, so it's good to see that that's going to be here for generations to come. So,
Mhm.
well, in that way, let's segue to the new business, which is the art preservation of that particular mural.
Okay, so we need to put a sealer on all three murals, exterior murals in town. And I think this would be a good time to do a fundraiser to introduce our whole art commission to raise funds for the preservation of what we have, and also for new public art, to talk about what the community would like to see. And Sandra had suggested that we have some type of a social activity, and I'd also like to do a rededication ceremony for the Cooke mural. And I would also like to raise funds for a plaque in 3 parts. One talking a little about the artist, and then the second part would be the historical significance of the mural, and third about the restoration of the mural. I think it's important historically to know who originally commissioned the mural, who did the mural, who, how it has survived, and the restoration of the mural. And I think it would be fun to have the kids in the 4th grade, when they study the Oregon Trail, come by and have someone who knows about the Oregon Trail and what's in the mural just talk to the kids about it and give them really art and history education, I think. And it gives them more of a connection to the community. It's something that a lot of kids see, and people have talked about this. Oh, it's been here all my life, or I saw, different things. And so I think it's just a way of connecting the community to art. So that's one of the ideas I had.
Okay, so just a quick question. When was the mural painted?
93.
93, okay.
And it has vertical cracks in the substrate that we are trying to fill with the primer, which is called Peel Stop, and it's a clear primer. And then we're trying to put as much paint into those cracks as possible. And then we're going to seal that over again with a little more Peel Stop in individual cracks. And then the clear coat. And once we do all that, that lack of water penetration will preserve the mural for a good long time. The paint we're using, if it's preserved with a clear coat, you could recoat it every so often, and it probably lasts another 20 years.
And that was donated by Ace Hardware.
The products that we're using that are obtainable through them have been donated by Ace Hardware, and the lift was donated by AEC, the Bracas, and then we bought roughly $300 worth of artist acrylics. So.
What are the
we're
numbers
on-
for the, if we need to get clear coat for the next three, or that one and the other murals, what, do you have a figure for how much we need to spend?
We haven't put it out for a bid, and I think it would be most cost effective to do them pretty much all at one time.
Do you have like a ballpark? Like
I got
maybe-
an estimate from a guy who was gonna clean the mural on the front of the building and do the mural shield, and that was $450, I think.
Okay.
But when I asked to have it separated out into cleaning and coating, I never got a reply. So you never know if a particular contractor is serious or not when you can't get a response like that. So
Unless he's
it's only
afraid of
one.
underbidding.
It's only one estimate.
Okay. I might be able to help with some donation of funds to that. So if you could just like, when you start to
Mhm.
get some numbers before the end of the month, I might be able to put a word out.
Okay.
To some people that may be able to help. I'd really appreciate that.
Okay.
See what we can do on it. Just from my end, I may or may not happen, but if we had
Yeah.
a number, it would be
Right.
very helpful, so.
So that is one of the next things we need to do is I'd like to get an estimate on such a plaque or plaques, and also the clear coat for each one. And like I said, it may be just very slightly more cost effective to do 3 murals. Because I know from being a contractor, if you come and you do 2 hours work, you have to give all the coming and going prices and cleanup and all that. Whereas if you can go work to progressively through them, you can do them less expensively. So-
Are you considering like a bronze style plaque, something that will stand the test of time?
Well, it's probably something that should last 20 to 30 years or so, because I don't know how many years the mural itself will last.
Okay.
So it's not something that could be, I am not contemplating something as transient as just a painted piece of wood, because I'm not sure.
You can check with Peak Trophy over here, he does some nice stuff.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I want to find something that's going to last at least as long or longer than the mural. So,
It's gonna be coated well.
and get a several materials estimate on several
Mhm.
materials. Okay, that's and I would really like to get together with Sandra and anyone else who's interested in scheduling and working on some kind of fundraiser.
Good. God, the year goes so fast.
I would say if you do make some good progress on planning a fundraiser, obviously let myself or someone else at the city know, and we can try to coordinate how we can be of service.
And I'm
during that
assuming that if
process
we
as
have a
well.
small budget for hors d'oeuvres or, libations or whatever, that we'd have to, do a vote.
And Becky, I'd help.
Thank you.
So.
Yeah. You need your 2 cents.
Okay. And on that note, would you guys like to talk about the commission budget update? Where we are, what we've spent, mostly just where we are. I think we all know what we've spent, and kind of gives us an idea of what we have to work with. Please, by all
Yeah,
means.
sorry.
No, no worries.
Everyone should have in their agenda handout the last page being a budget detail for the current fiscal year, which began July 1st, 2019. So your expenses are relatively small thus far. That does not include the acrylic art supplies that Commissioner Hawley has purchased, so keep that in mind as you review those numbers. I'll let Becky touch on the total project costs for some of the art events and the chalk art contest rather.
Okay, so if I might, the chalk art contest was $684. And $150 were for 2 banners that are usable for every art event. And there was another small amount that is, I'd say, another $75 that's also reusable for the next events. So really, let's say $500 for this year's event. Most of that being the chalk itself and the prizes. And as far as the mural, it's under budget as well.
Significantly thanks to AEC.
Thanks to
during
AEC,
that
and
season.
we are taking full advantage of it. Instead of using it for a week and then having to stand on ladders, we're using it the whole time. And I will say, once you've had a lift,
Yeah.
you cannot go back.
What was the original budget for that, remember?
It was $1,000.
I believe the original budget for the chalk art contest was 1,500 if I.
No, it was like 900
Was it
and-
nine? Okay.
or a thousand. Yeah, we're under budget on both things.
That's always nice. Does anyone have a number for the total, budget that we have in hand, for the next, whatever, year and a half?
7,500.
Roundabout, okay.
Less
I knew we had like
than
8.
Yeah.
So it was around 8
It
or
was
something.
8 total for this biennium, yes.
Okay.
So you still have a significant amount
That's
left.
okay.
I mean, we're really early in, in the biennium, but, there's quite a bit left for other projects or fundraisers or items that come
What
up.
have you.
What have you, yeah, the what have yous that we don't know yet.
What month should we start talking about the next chalk art? If that's what we're going to do.
Now.
Yeah. I was talking to somebody who had been into Ashland or Grants Pass or someplace, and they said they always at least hire 1 or 2 professionals that do, you know, the really hot stuff that draw people.
Oh, yeah.
The stuff where, you know, you think you're gonna walk into the water and that really is a draw. I know
And,
you've
yeah,
figured-
not necessarily to have them
It's just-
compete, but to
No, it's not
be
compete,
there
it's just
and like
one
do
or-
some
one
artwork.
at the end of
and-
town or 2 of
That's a
them,
good
and,
idea.
yeah, they said it's well worth paying somebody in order to draw the people, and we can tie something in that, where we're gonna make some money off of it also. That's my 2 cents.
If anyone has anything else to say about the budget, we should consider at some point how we're going to approach the coming years and what kind of art we want to put in here and how we're going to go about doing it, and whether it be, you know, sculpture or a mural. I think kind of performing arts seem to be kind of taken care of by other aspects of the city. I don't really feel like we need to dive, personally, I don't feel like we need to dive into that as much, though it is the arts, and we should be somewhat involved, but I think, you know, maybe a new mural in town, or a new sculpture in town, or, yes, Becky?
Well, it's not on the agenda to talk about, but what I would like to see is to have us get together and do a overall plan. So understanding what's gonna happen on Pleasant Street and maybe
Or
making
Manchester.
that a segment, and what's gonna happen with Sandy Campus and what's gonna happen with the sewer, so that things become somewhat cohesive and yet interesting in their own separate ways and appropriate to each project. So getting a good list and ideas, even if we have what the council has, which is like a work session. Is that something we can do?
And say why not? It's a brainstorming session for you guys to,
And they
figure out
record
what
that,
things.
and it's usually before their meeting. But we could consider doing it, I think, like as a part of our meeting, and then our meeting could be brief and start later. The stuff we're gonna vote on, like the minutes and the, you know, so the main part of our meeting could be a work session, and then we go into our real quick agenda.
I feel like that always streamlines a meeting anyway.
Yeah.
So that'd be a great idea.
So just recently, council has actually included work session topics in their agendas as well and not hold a separate meeting, so we can look at doing something like that. Just plan for a
Yeah.
more lengthy meeting than an hour, but maybe
Yeah.
a 2-hour window or something, so we can have a nice discussion.
One of the things that I know we're on to is a master plan for our parks, and that includes all the buildings, and I'm assuming, I haven't seen the specifics of it just yet, but it will include art into that as well, so. But that's a process, we're gonna hire a consultant to do that, and they'll be interacting with the council and the Parks Commission. And I would say somebody in the Art Commission would wanna connect up with the Park Committee and find a way to make sure that those kind of ideas are kind of in the mix. And
I
so-
did talk to Kathleen.
You did? Okay, great,
Mhm.
great, yeah. I really hope that that would happen too. Plus, as far as what you're thinking about doing for the next whatever year, I guess, whatever, is that it will be impacted by that master plan. So there'll be some, I'm sure there'll be some requests for funding, and we've got urban renewal dollars and donations and such. You know, that would be part of your desire, at least my desire for to see you put that in the mix of your plan. So, just so you know.
Thank you. Do you mind to talk about urban renewal dollars? So we kind of mentioned it before, and like, would you mind to speak on like where that comes from, who pays for that?
If you got time for it?
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're watching the time.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to go home at 7. Okay, urban renewal dollars. What we do start off with is a district that is inclusive in downtown Sandy. It starts approximately where the Bluff and Highway 26, where the couplet is, and it goes clear up to just a little bit past the, called the Ten Eyck and Wolf Street, if you know where that is, the light there. So it goes a little bit beyond that. It includes the building, I believe, where the Wild Harvest is now, that's going to become a county medical clinic. And then it goes from, there's a steep piece that goes down into Tupper. It doesn't include the steep piece, but the steep piece up. So those buildings on the south side of Pioneer are all included in that. If you go north, it includes Pleasant and a considerable piece of the old Cedar Ridge properties. There's a lot more details to the boundaries, but that boundary is important in that all of the taxes that are paid for out of that, not any additional taxes, but the existing taxes that are paid into that area are put into a category that is called urban renewal, and I don't remember the percentage of those dollars, but a percentage of those taxes are withdrawn and put into an urban renewal fund. And do you remember how much money is in there now?
The fund itself.
Yeah. Well, he's looking
I
that
have
up.
like a $6 million budget, I think. I don't have access to any financial software on this
Okay.
computer, though, so I can
Millions of
check
dollars
that.
are in that. Of course, we have priorities for those dollars. And so, before I go on that one, so there is no additional impact on any of the businesses or the people that own property within this. So it's just the same tax dollars, no special. But those tax dollars are drawn off, and the purpose of those tax dollars is to go back into that same area. So those boundaries I just described are very crucial. You can't go outside of that. We can enlarge it, and we did it when we put the new Cedar Ridge, which is now called the Sandy Community Campus. We included that now, so we can put our money into that particular area. So we can increase the boundaries and such, and manipulate them. But all these dollars have to go back into that specific area. And the reason for those dollars is to improve those facilities to increase the tax base. And so the facade projects we did increase the tax value of each of those properties. And so that was the purpose of some of that. The other purpose is to make those properties more valuable. So we end up with sidewalks. We took down a whole bunch of electrical lines on Proctor and made wider sidewalks for it's easier for people to walk up and down, and you can do a number of different things. You can't do projects like month-to-month operational kinds of things, but you can do for capital investment, things that are permanent. You can do it for that sort of stuff. So those monies are available to go into a committee, and then there's a urban renewal committee that monitors that, makes decisions about that, and how that money gets spent. And there's a project list, that budget gets spent. Right now, the Cedar Ridge, or the old community campus, is a big piece of that, with the pool as being the biggest part of that. So there's a lot of money going into that. There's also money going into the last few facade projects in the downtown part of Sandy. I think the flowers get paid for out of that, I think. There's a few other projects, the hanging flowers on the streets and such. So all that money is available for doing project downtown. So if you were to have an art project within those boundaries, and they could be identified as something the city would be have control over, then that would be something that we could put into the budget for the urban renewal dollars. And at the moment, there's been several suggestions, but nothing has been put in the budget at this point for art projects. One of the projects we did talk about was on the plaza across the street from here, where all the transit center is, and the benches and all that kind of stuff, the little covered shelter. There it is. I'll get it right yet. We talked about putting in, but we did not approve because we wanted to see what really was the right thing to do, was covering that with these sail shades, different colored, lighting those things up, being able to protect it from the sun in the summertime, and possibly making additional time to use it because of the shoulder seasons with rain and such. But making it an art project rather than just to cover the place for protection against the sun. Those projects never been approved, never been added through, but have been given to staff as coming up with a budget and possibilities and those sort of things. There's probably a few others that I can't pick up at the top of my head at the moment, but that money, during our annual budget, which happened this past spring, is a 2-year budget, and it can be modified if we come up with a project that really has a lot of potential, and that would come from this committee, this commission. So if you find a project, have a lot of energy about it, want to put something forward, that would be how we would change our minds. Bring it to council, say here's the project, maybe come up with a budget, come up with a scope of what you're thinking of, and bring it forward to the council. Make sure that the city manager hears about it, puts it on the agenda, and so on. But that would be something that you could probably see a lot of interest from, because I know the council would like to see more of these art projects happen. We don't want to push you too much, because I know there are a lot of startup things that have to be done in our commission, but I know we're looking forward to seeing some projects. There's been some things proposed to, the stuff with the waterfall on the west end of town, that west end of that couplet where the two roads separate. What are we doing with that? Love to see something happen there besides a pile of rocks.
Yeah.
Not the best look in the world, but I've heard several things there, and I think that would be a good one to bring up. More murals, all those kind of things. Now, if you're looking outside of that line, that's going to be a different story. You're going to have, if it's inside the city, which is another piece to be careful about. We have general fund monies, but you're going to have to compete with other projects that are in that mode. Donations, those would be a great way to finance it, but you still need to get permission from the city council to go forward on the project. So, see what else have I forgotten. Did you come up with a budget yet?
I know I don't have access
Okay.
to financial
Right.
software on this computer, but I did send everyone on the commission a link to the current urban renewal plan. So if you want to learn more
That'd be
about
great.
the
Oh,
plan
that'd be great.
overall,
Yeah.
Thank you.
it's in your inbox.
I think what else? Other than the committee itself is more than just city council. It's a urban renewal committee is the fire district, so the fire chief is usually on there. The Chamber of Commerce is part of that, and so the director of the chamber usually votes in that as well. It does affect other entities. So for the existence, the dollars that come out of those businesses get sent to the county, get sent to like fire district, for example. Chamber has some influence on that because of the businesses that are part of that. But also the school district has taxes that come out of that. And so the reason why they're affected is because when you take a percentage of those dollars from those property taxes, you don't get as much money going to the county, as much money going to the school district, fire district, all those sorts of things. So that's why they're also encouraged to participate. But at the moment, we don't have any school district participation, just the fire district and the chamber in that. And then also the 7 members of the city council. I think what else? I think that's probably enough for the moment. Don't want to take too much of your time, but that's what that is. And I guess the big piece to take away is this commission really probably wouldn't be a bad idea to come up with some projects. But I think your plan is really at the right start. Figure out what you want to do. What's the big picture look? How much do you want to put into all the different possibilities? You know, you've talked about, Chair, you talked about those different kinds of arts that should be out there. What should we invest our first energies on? What should be the big picture? Is there a theme that we have to follow, we'd like to follow? I love the idea of having some sort of a permanent plaque on each and every one so we know, because we've been through a big problem with this, figuring out who started it, who made it, who fixed it, whatever, how they got put there. And I think that's really important to keep that sort of stuff on.
Yeah, it's part of our town's narrative, just as much as anything else, so I
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah. So, I think about, any questions? Okay, all right.
No, as always, thank you so much.
Sure.
for
Thank
your
you.
time. Well, that gives us a good idea of, maybe starting like a 4-year plan or something, having a grand scheme to pick at over the next little bit before an entire new regime change comes through the commission. Maybe we could, have an overall plan and just see what we can accomplish in that amount of time.
Yeah, just, we should work on a strategic plan,
Yeah.
so it's.
You definitely need the workshop situations. We cannot do really anything in these
True.
1-hour meetings,
Right.
except say we need a workshop,
Right.
Yeah, general ideas.
Does anyone else have anything to add this evening? I got logged out on my.
We're to the consent agenda with the minutes.
I did read last month's minutes, and I don't see anything that needs amended. Does anyone else? I'm not a grammar you-know-what, so I don't really care about that, but.
I move to accept the minutes as written.
And I second it.
All right.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye?
Aye, aye, aye.
Aye, aye, aye. Sorry, I'm trying to get back into this here. I was a little distracted. Awesome. Is there anything else to come before the commission this evening? We will need someone to step forth and make a motion to adjourn, other than the chair.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn, if we're finished.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye, aye,
Thank you all for coming again.
Look at that, time to spare.
That was fast.
Almost a record, huh?
Definitely.
Yeah, it's pretty